You know, if there's one thing that I've learned from watching the vinyl community over the years, it's that every collector seems to go through a phase of trimming down their collection. Maybe that's through they've run out of space, or they've just fallen out of love with the record, or they may have even upgraded to a better pressing. Or in some cases, if you're very lucky, you've had an offer that was just too good to turn down. And then there are those people, for whatever circumstance, they need to sell everything, only to then come back to the hobby at a much later date, full of regret and trying to rebuild what they once had. And that got me thinking about what are the records in my collection that I could never part with. And these are ones that hold either like too much sentimental value to me, or they sound absolutely phenomenal, or they're just too much, they mean too much to me personally to sell. So on today's Vinyl Narrative episode, I want to share with you a few of those records in my collection that I will never ever sell. Okay, so the first up we have the Beatles Revolver, and this is the mono pressing. And this one is extra special to me because it actually came from my mother's collection. When I first got into collecting vinyl, I was still living at home with my parents, and they mentioned to me that there might be a few records from their collection still up in the loft, because this is at a time where, you know, they'd upgraded their hi-fi system from a turntable vinyl player to just basically CDs and cassettes, which I think a lot of people did in the late 90s or early 90s. So after a few rummages up in the loft, I found this old LP box, quite a small one, and in it was this, the Beatles Revolver, the mono pressing. And this is an early pressing from 1966. And it's a little beat up. The vinyl, as no pun intended there at all, but it's a little beat up. The vinyl has definitely seen play, which is, you know, what I would fully expect from someone having this in their collection. So there's a bit, so it looks quite glossy there still, but there is a few hairline marks on it and a few kind of scratches, but it still plays through really nice. And mastering wise, this just sounds amazing. You know, I think this is probably one of the best pressings that you can get of Revolver. It's not the very first pressing. I think it's one of the kind of later reissues they did throughout 1966. But it plays through really nicely. There's a crackle there and a bit of surface noise as well throughout it. But that just kind of adds to the charm of having this record. And for me personally, this is probably my favourite Beatles record. It's probably tied with Abbey Road, but it's definitely up there. And because it's from my mum's collection and it's just been with my family since the 60s, so I know that my mum would have enjoyed it, my granddad, my nan, they would have all loved this record and played it on their system. It's just one that I could never bring myself to sell, and I love that it's a part of my collection and I can even hand it down to my family as well. So first up there, the Beatles Revolver. Next up, this will be no surprise to anyone who's watched my channel, but it is Bloc Party's Silent Alarm, and this is the first US pressing. This pressing of the album is very rare and it sounds absolutely killer, and it's got this unique track listing in that it's got 2 bonus tracks on there, if you will. You've got this kind of lead-in track to the album called Every Time Is the Last Time, and then you've also got Little Thoughts on this record. And this was actually one of the first, well, definitely one of the earlier records that I added to my vinyl collection when I started collecting. And, you know, as many of you know, it's probably my favourite album of all time. I've waxed lyrical about this record on my channel elsewhere. There's multiple videos about it, so check those out if you're a fan. So yeah, there's no way I could ever kind of bring myself to sell this copy. It's just one of those cornerstone records in my collection that really defines my music taste and who I am as a collector as well. So there we go, Bloc Party's Silent Alarm. Okay, switching gears a little bit now. So this next one isn't rare at all, and it's not even within my musical taste, but it is a priceless record to me. And this one is probably going to shock a few people. It is Bluey The Album. So yeah, not one that a lot of people in the vinyl community would hold off on their channel and talk about, but this was in fact the first vinyl records that I bought for my daughter on her first birthday. So she's 3 now, and yeah, I bought it for her when she turned 1. So technically this one is not even mine to sell. I am just the caretaker of it until she's old enough to kind of decide what she wants to do with it. But I've got so many memories of this record, of us and my wife listening to this together, playing with my daughter and teaching her to kind of roll over and crawl on the floor. Yeah, a lot of sentimental memories with this record, and it's just one of those that kind of captures a whole chapter in my life and an early chapter in hers, although she probably won't remember it. But you know, one day obviously she's gonna outgrow Bluey, more than likely, and maybe this will end up leaving my collection. I'll no longer be the caretaker of it for her, but it won't be me who kind of makes that decision to sell it. So yeah, a weird one to say that I'll never sell this, but you know, it's still not a bad record for a kid's album. So there we go, Bluey the Album. Now onto something that is very special to me for a completely different reason. It is Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures, and this is the first UK pressing. Now, Joy Division were probably the bands that I first kind of properly fell in love with, and I wanted to start a collection of their records, or their albums at least, because when I started collecting, I would have been collecting on CD and cassette, so I just wanted everything they'd done. And when I started collecting vinyl, you know, this one was right at the top of the list of one that I must have in my collection. And I found this copy from someone who was selling their 70s and 80s collection on eBay, and I think I paid around £50 for this at the time, which was, you know, very expensive in my mind, and it's probably the most I'd ever spent on a record up until that point as well. But I needed to have it because it just felt so huge to me when I got this. It felt like I was owning a piece of history. It's in excellent condition. It just absolutely remarkable condition, especially for its age. And you know, there is a bit of wear on the cover. You can probably see that a little bit if I hide my face. It's in a plastic sleeve because I don't want any more wear on it, but you can definitely see the ring wear, which gets applied to a lot of these kind of pressings of Unknown Pleasures. And Martin Hannett's production on this record, it just absolutely shines. The clarity, the atmosphere, and the space in the sound is really, really stunning. And for those fellow vinyl nerds that are out there, yes, this is the Porcupine cut. That was mastered by George Peckham, and it does have the hidden message in the run out groove. But if you don't know what I'm talking about there, look it up. I won't spoil it for you, but it's just a nice little thing that both Joy Division and New Order used to do in their run-out grooves. They'll put a hidden message in there, which is nice for the listener to kind of discover as they're playing through the album. So yeah, this one will never leave my collection. It is just spectacular. It's Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. The last one that I want to talk about today is Daft Punk's Discovery. Now, this is the first Europe pressing. I believe this would have been pressed at NPO. I'd have to check the run-out groove again. But yeah, Europe pressing. And this is probably my favourite dance album of all time. And this particular copy I got incredibly lucky with. I found it on eBay years ago when I started collecting in the early 2000s. And it barely had any information in it in the description. But from the pictures, it just looked immaculate. It had both discs on there. They looked really clean, and it also had the all-important inserts, including, I'll just try and flush it up on the screen there for you, the Daft Club credit card there that you could go onto a website and enter in that code, and it would give you access to kind of bonus material of the album. So that's still included. So I had everything. I put a bid on it, and there was only one other bidder from memory. It might have been one or two, but I won this for £15, which is an absolute bargain for a first pressing for sure of this record. And when it arrived, I checked out the run out matrix on Discogs and realised it actually was a first pressing, so I couldn't believe my luck. put it on the turntable and it sounds incredible. Like, to be fair, all Daft Punk records do. They always sound great on vinyl. They really take a lot of care with that. It's super dynamic and just jumps out at you and just, you know, makes you wanna dance, right? That's what this album is for. And it's got a glossy vinyl and just, yeah, a perfect cut. It's one of those grails that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to let go of. So yeah, just incredible album, and I feel so lucky that I managed to get it for the price that I did. So great stuff, right time, right place. So there we go, Daft Punk's Discovery. So those are a few records that I will never sell. Each one of those is very special to me for different reasons, but they're all equally important. So some are just nostalgia, some are for the music, and some just because they remind me of a specific time in my life. So I'd love to know now, what are your records that you would never ever sell from your collection? Drop them down in the comments below, and let's see if we even get any overlap. That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you've not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. There's quite a few watchers on my channel who are not subscribers, so I'd love you to keep coming back and get notified when I've got videos for you to watch. So yeah, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.